You know that one phone call you get from a family member where the second they say, "Hi, sweetie," your body instinctively clenches? Yeah, that's what I got 6 months ago from my mom, Cheryl. Let me back up for a second. I'm Darren, 30 years old, working IT support in Milwaukee. I've been living on my own since I turned 18, paid my own rent, cooked my own food, which mostly consisted of burnt quesadillas for the first 2 years, and put myself through community college by flipping burgers and fixing printers at a library. If there was a hall of fame for self-reliant middle children with emotionally unavailable parents, I'd be on the cover. Meanwhile, my little sister Haley? She's the golden goose that never laid an egg. The type who called our parents crying because her barista boss made her work a full 8-hour shift and didn't even say thank you. She's been coddled her entire life, drifting from job to job like a talentless leaf in a soft breeze, and somehow still treated like she's about to cure cancer. My folks, Cheryl and Greg, always brushed her messes under the rug. She's just sensitive. She'll figure it out. And my personal favorite, Haley's artistic. That's how you know a child's doing absolutely nothing with their life. They're artistic. Anyway, so I'm at work dealing with someone who downloaded malware trying to get a coupon for free Olive Garden breadsticks when my phone buzzes. It's Cheryl. I let it go to voicemail. She calls again. And again. By the time I answer, I'm 90% sure someone died or she needs a kidney. "Hi, sweetheart," she coos. "Hi, Mom. What's up?" "Oh, just wanted to check in. How's work? Are you eating okay? Are you still doing that computer thing?" That's when I knew. The moment my mom shows even feigned interest in my nutrition, I know a storm's coming. She doesn't know if I work in tech support or if I'm coding CIA software in a bunker. She doesn't care. She only calls when she wants something. So, after about 2 minutes of awkward niceties, she drops the bomb. "Haley's in trouble." Again. I ask. "Darren." She snaps, like I just insulted the Pope. "She's made some missteps. She got into a little debt." "How much?" I ask, already rubbing my temples. There's a pause so long I think the call dropped. 40,000. I choke on my coffee. Dollars. "No, circus peanuts," I snap. "Yes, dollars," she says like I'm the unreasonable one. Apparently, Haley took out loans from what sounded like a shady loan app, plus some private lenders. When I asked what that meant, she muttered something about a guy named Travis who drives a lifted pickup and doesn't blink much. Real promising. Then came the guilt parade. "You've always been the strong one, Darren. You have such a good heart. Haley's not like you. She needs your help." I sat there, stunned. Haley's 27. She's had more chances than a Monopoly board. And now they want me to clean up her $40,000 mess? "No," I said, plain and flat. The silence on the line was deafening. Then she snapped. "You're being selfish. Do you want your sister's blood on your hands?" I didn't give her the shovel, Mom. She hung up on me. Later that night, I sat on my tiny IKEA couch and tried not to feel like the world's worst human. That's the trick with my family. They don't ask for things, they assign guilt. It's like emotional blackmail with a Hallmark card. I knew I made the right decision, but I still couldn't shake the nausea. I'd finally drawn a line, and now I was public enemy number one in my own family. And something in my gut told me this was only the beginning. I don't know what I expected after hanging up on Cheryl. Maybe a few passive-aggressive texts. A card with a sad puppy and a handwritten, "Please reconsider." What I got instead was a full-blown digital siege. The next morning, my phone was vibrating like it was trying to dig its way out of my nightstand. Text after text after text. First up, "Mom, of course. You should be ashamed. We raised you better. You used to be so kind. You'll regret this when Haley is homeless." "Okay, Mom." Slightly dramatic, but 10-10 for consistency. Then came Dad, a man whose most complex text to date has been K suddenly turning into a motivational speaker. "Do the right thing, son. You're better than this. Family means sacrifice." I could practically hear him sighing heavily while typing those with one finger. But the piece de resistance? Haley. She sent me an 8-paragraph text. 8. That's a whole essay. She even used the phrase emotional abandonment. Like I left her on a highway in the rain with a stray cat. She wrote, "You've always been my rock. Now you're letting me drown. You're rich. This wouldn't even affect you. You've changed." That last one always cracks me up. You've changed. Like I was supposed to remain their 18-year-old errand boy forever. And just to clarify, no, I'm not rich. I have savings, sure. a Roth IRA, and some mutual funds that make me feel like I'm 78. But I still drive a 10-year-old Honda Civic with a bumper held on by hope and zip ties. If I'm rich, I missed the yacht invitation. Anyway, I ignored them all, turned off notifications, even deleted the family group chat, which was basically just Cheryl sending minion memes and Haley asking if someone could Venmo her for groceries at Sephora. I thought they'd wear themselves out. They didn't. 3 days later, my Aunt Pam called. Now, Pam is one of the few family members I actually like. She's sarcastic, drinks wine like water, and once threw a shoe at Uncle Dennis for mansplaining how a thermostat works. She sounded uncomfortable. Hey, Darren, I just talked to your mom. Of course she did. She told me Haley's being harassed by some, serious people? That you're refusing to help and she might be in danger? I rolled my eyes so hard I saw last week. Pam, do you think I'd let her be in actual danger? No, she said without hesitation. But Cheryl's been spinning this thing like a soap opera. I figured I'd call you before she convinces the church ladies you've joined a cult. I told Pam the real story. Haley's shady loans. The manipulation. The 40 grand she wanted me to magic out of thin air like I had a money tree in my yard. Pam was quiet for a second, then said, wow. Yeah, no, that's a you problem, Haley. God bless Aunt Pam. But by then, the damage had been done. Cheryl had already deployed the extended family. Distant cousins I hadn't seen since 2009 were sliding into my DMs with vague disappointment. You should really think about family. I hope you find it in your heart to forgive. Your mom is so upset. She was crying at bridge night. Bridge night. The ultimate battlefield. Then came the plot twist. My bank called. And not for a courtesy check-in or new credit card offer. No. A rep named Monica informed me there had been an attempt to access my checking account using my social security number and a fake utility bill. Excuse me? Luckily, their fraud detection kicked in and nothing was stolen. But someone stupid, had tried to impersonate me to withdraw funds. And if your instincts scream, Haley, congrats, you're qualified for FBI profiling. I asked the bank for details. They couldn't legally say much. But Monica hinted it looked like someone local. Someone who'd recently failed at verifying a phone number linked to my old family landline. It hit me like a truck. This wasn't just guilt-tripping anymore. This was theft. Attempted identity fraud. And it came from inside the house. I sat there, staring at my phone, my heart pounding. She'd crossed a line. And I wasn't just going to ignore this anymore. By the time I pulled up to Haley's apartment, I had already rewritten the confrontation 100 times in my head. In one version, I was calm and reasonable, the big brother with a firm hand and a gentle heart. In another, I brought a PowerPoint presentation titled, Your Life is Not My Problem, a retrospective. But by the time I got out of my car, I was just angry. Not dramatic, scream into the void angry. Just tired of the BS angry. Her place was exactly what you'd expect. A beige stucco duplex with a patchy lawn, a sagging porch swing, and the distinct smell of regret and reheated pizza rolls. She opened the door wearing fuzzy socks and a hoodie that said, Chaos Coordinator. Ironic, considering she's never coordinated a thing in her life. Darren? She blinked, feigning surprise like a bad soap opera extra. What are you doing here? I didn't answer. I just held up my phone with the bank's fraud alert displayed. Her face didn't even twitch. Oh, come on, she said, stepping back to let me in like I was delivering a package. You weren't going to help me. What was I supposed to do? Not steal my identity. I shouted. She waved me off like I'd just overreacted to stepping in gum. I didn't steal anything. I tried. Big difference. The bank stopped it, didn't they? The big difference, I snapped, is the difference between jail and almost jail. That finally got under her skin. She crossed her arms and huffed. Mom and Dad said you'd come around if I pushed hard enough. They told me to make it serious, so you'd stop being so stubborn. My jaw nearly hit the floor. They encouraged this? Do they know this is criminal? This is actual fraud. Haley, you tried to rob me. She rolled her eyes, like I was being dramatic. You always make everything about right and wrong. Like life is black and white. Trying to break into my bank account is pretty black and white. I was pacing now, hands shaking. She plopped onto her couch and pulled a throw blanket over her legs like this was some kind of intervention scene. You think you're so perfect, she said, voice sharp. Just because you have your little job and your dumb townhouse and your precious retirement plan. You think that makes you better? I don't think I'm better, I shot back. But I think I'm responsible, which is more than I can say for you. She stood up then, her face twisted into something I hadn't seen before. Not anger, not shame. Just entitlement. Everything I've ever done, she hissed, was because I didn't have the support you had. I stared at her. The support I had. Haley, I was paying rent at 18. I paid for my own textbooks while you were shopping on mom's credit card. They bought you a car. I had a bus pass. They covered your rent until you were 25. I ate ramen until I qualified for dental. Don't act like you didn't benefit, she snapped. Mom and Dad did the best they could. For you, I shouted. They did everything for you. For me, they did lectures and guilt trips. That's it. Her lips pressed into a tight line, like she was trying to will herself into a victim again. But this time, it wasn't working. I sighed and stepped toward the door. I'm done, Haley. Done with this circus. You want to screw up your life? Fine. But I'm not paying for the tickets anymore. Don't walk away from me, she yelled. But I already was. I didn't look back. Driving home, I felt like I'd just escaped a tornado made entirely of parental expectations and Haley's bad decisions. But the storm wasn't over. When I got home, I locked my doors, changed every password I'd ever used, and called up my friend Jason, a lawyer, to ask, hypothetically, if my sister commits felony-level fraud, how fast can I press charges? He told me I could, but should I? That night, I stared at the ceiling, my thoughts playing ping-pong. Could I really do it? Call the cops on my sister? And more importantly, why did I still feel like I was the bad guy? About a week after confronting Haley, and half expecting her to try selling my organs on Facebook Marketplace, I thought things might finally cool off. Spoiler, they did not. Instead, I got what I can only describe as a surprise parental ambush. I had just come home from work, microwaved some leftover chili, and was 3 spoonfuls deep into a sad bachelor dinner when I heard the doorbell. And there they were, Cheryl and Greg, my parents, standing on my porch like they were auditioning for a remake of Meet the Fockers. My dad looked like he'd rather be anywhere else, probably his garage, but Mom? Oh, she looked like she was ready. She had that kind of energy usually reserved for PDA meetings or passive-aggressively battling retail workers about expired coupons. I didn't even get a hello. She barged in the second the door opened, waving her arms like she was trying to flag down an exorcist. This has gone far enough, she declared, stomping across my living room in heels that absolutely didn't match her yoga pants. We need to talk. Dad followed quietly, hands in pockets, wearing the universal face of a man thinking, I should have stayed in the car. I took a deep breath and crossed my arms. Mom, we've already talked. You called me selfish. I called you manipulative. You hung up. Classic us. She ignored the sarcasm. This family is falling apart because of you, she snapped, spinning on her heel. Haley is drowning, and you're just watching her sink. Is that who you've become? No, I said slowly. But I also haven't become her personal rescue boat. Greg tried to step in then, voice low and calm. Son, we raised you better than this. No, you didn't, I snapped. You raised me to survive on my own while you spoon-fed Haley like she was the second coming. They didn't like that. You don't understand what it's like, Mom hissed. Being a mother. Making sacrifices. Oh, I understand. I watched you sacrifice every ounce of sanity you had to protect Haley from facing a single consequence. You always think you're the hero, she shot back. But this isn't a movie, Darren. This is real life. Families help each other. That's rich coming from the woman who started charging me rent the day I turned 18, I said, laughing bitterly. You helped Haley apply for food delivery jobs while I was juggling college and 2 part-time gigs. You want to talk about sacrifice? I sacrificed sleep, stability, and 6 years of therapy just to unlearn the guilt you've been feeding me since high school. That shut them up. Briefly. Then Mom hit me with the final boss move, the classic guilt grenade. If you don't help her, don't expect us to be there when you need us. I stared at her, then pointed to the door. You've never been there. The silence that followed was like the kind that hits just before a thunderstorm, thick and heavy. Dad looked at me with a strange mix of guilt and grief. For a second, I thought he might apologize. He didn't. Mom just shook her head, muttering something about broken homes and disrespectful sons, and stormed out. Dad lingered at the doorway, looked back at me one last time like he wanted to say something. Maybe he even wanted to pick me over her. But, as always, he stayed quiet and followed. When the door clicked shut, I let out a breath I hadn't realized I was holding. And then I laughed. Because, really, what else do you do when your family tries to emotionally blackmail you in person like it's a Broadway show? But the next day, it stopped being funny. Because that's when I got the email from a lawyer. Yep, they tried to sue me. You ever open your email, see the subject line, legal notice regarding family obligation, and think, yes, another Tuesday in hell? That was me. It was from a small law firm in Cedar Rapids, which already sounds fake, like something out of a Netflix crime doc, and the contents were somehow worse than the name. In plain English, it claimed that I, Darren Avery, had a moral and familial duty to financially assist my sister, Haley, and had inflicted emotional and reputational harm upon the family unit by refusing to pay her debt. They even cited emotional duress as a cause of action. I read it twice. Then I laughed so hard I choked on my iced coffee and had to call my friend Jason, the lawyer. When I sent him the letter, he called me 5 minutes later just to wheeze laugh into the phone and go, "Bro, this isn't even real law. This is your mom using LegalZoom with a scented candle." Still, the fact that they went that far? It shook me. I thought I'd seen all their manipulative plays. The guilt trips. The drive-by interventions. The emotional hostage-taking. But this? A legal threat? That crossed into pure lunacy. So, I did what any tech-savvy millennial with boundary issues would do. I went full scorched earth. I blocked every number, every email. Haley, Cheryl, Greg. I nuked the family Facebook chat, unfollowed the entire Avery bloodline, and even deleted my grandma's AOL just to be safe. Okay, not really, but the thought crossed my mind. Then I texted my cousins, the ones with actual working brain cells, and said, "I'm done. Don't send me updates. Don't forward their drama. I'm out." Most were supportive. A few sent the classic, "But they're your parents" texts, to which I replied. So was Darth Vader. Days passed. I thought maybe that would be the end. Then came the letters. Actual, physical, paper letters. Cheryl had apparently time-traveled back to 1993 and decided snail mail was the new battleground. The first was 6 pages long, front and back, blue ink, loopy cursive, perfume that smelled like talcum powder, and control issues. She accused me of breaking her spirit, abandoning the only sister I have, and shattering the fragile bonds of our family. There was even a line that said, "You have severed the umbilical cord of emotional trust." What does that even mean? Greg wrote, too. His was more to the point. "If you walk away from Haley now, don't expect forgiveness when you come crawling back." I didn't respond to any of it. But my roommate, Brandon, read them over my shoulder and said, "Dude, if this was a horror movie, they'd be the creepy cult family trying to drag you back to the cornfield." I agreed, but I still felt it, the tug. Not love, not obligation, just this aching ache that whispered, what if they're right? Then Haley wrote me. A letter, hand-delivered, probably to dodge my email filters. It started like a Hallmark card and ended like a ransom note. "I've lost everything because of you," she wrote. "I had to sell my car. I'm 2 months behind on rent. I cry every night, wondering why my own brother abandoned me." She added, "Please, just $5,000 to get back on my feet. I'll pay you back. I swear." With what? Monopoly money? I nearly tossed it. But instead, I did something better. I laughed, folded it, and stuck it in my reasons I went no contact file, right next to the lawyer letter and the time Haley tried to Venmo request me $800 labeled emotional damages. But the real kicker? Cheryl showed up at my work. No warning. No call. Just there. She stormed past reception screaming, "I'm here to see my son, Darren Avery, who has been poisoning this family." I froze in my cubicle as my coworkers peeked out like meerkats during a thunderstorm. HR called security before I could even stand up. She was dragged out kicking and screaming, yelling something about maternal betrayal and the sins of the ungrateful. I don't remember the walk back to my desk, just the soul-crushing embarrassment of explaining to my team that no, I was not in a cult, and yes, my mom had just tried to parent trap me at the office. That night, I sat on my couch, staring at the ceiling, and made one final decision. No more soft boundaries. No more hoping they calm down. Tomorrow, I will call a real lawyer. And this time, I'd be the one drawing lines. In ink. The next morning, I walked into a family law office with 2 folders under my arm, one filled with documents, emails, letters, all the proof of a family trying to dismantle me, the other with one sticky note that simply read, "Freedom, please." The lawyer, Erica Hastings, was sharp, calm, and had that look like she's cracked harder nuts than my mom before breakfast. I laid it all out. The harassment, the fraud attempt, the workplace ambush, the weaponized guilt. Erica listened without interrupting, her pen flying across a legal pad like it was on caffeine. Darren, she said, closing the file, you don't need therapy. You need a cease and desist. And probably a vacation. I smiled for the first time in what felt like weeks. We drafted the letter that day. It was short, clinical, and devastating. Any further contact, emotional, legal, or otherwise, would result in immediate legal action. We sent it to Cheryl, Greg, Haley, and their joke of a lawyer in Cedar Rapids. And like magic, it all stopped. No more texts. No more voicemails. No more monologues written in perfume and entitlement. Even Haley went radio silent. It was like I'd finally sprayed the wasp nest with actual repellent instead of just waving a stick at it. 6 months later, my life is quiet. Peaceful, even. There's no more dread every time my phone buzzes. No more explanations to coworkers about the situation. No more emotional hostage negotiations. I started sleeping better, eating better, laughing more. I got promoted at work, senior IT lead. My manager said, "You've been sharper lately." Turns out, cutting out emotional vampires does wonders for productivity. Haley? From what I've heard through a few reluctant cousins, she's bouncing between part-time gigs and crashing with a friend in Ohio. Still struggling. Still blaming everyone but herself. She's like a sitcom character that never got the final season arc. Cheryl and Greg still tell their version of events, I'm sure. That I turned my back on family. That I'm cold, ungrateful, arrogant. But fewer people are buying it now. The bad son narrative doesn't really hold up when your daughter has a reputation for ordering Uber Eats on credit cards that don't belong to her. The truth? I don't even hate them anymore. Hate is exhausting. It keeps you tethered. Like you're still hoping for something, a change, an apology, a childhood that never happened. Now, I feel something else. Pity. Maybe even peace. And for the first time in my life, I'm choosing me. I spend Sundays doing things I love, hiking, gaming, cleaning my kitchen without a side of panic. I've reconnected with old friends. Even started dating someone who thinks I'm funny and kind and not a walking trauma ball. And best of all, I don't explain myself anymore. Not when someone says, but they're your family. Not when they ask if I'll ever forgive. Not when they look at me like I'm supposed to feel guilty for saving my own life. Because here's what I've learned. You don't owe people who break you the pieces. Being family doesn't mean they get unlimited access to your peace, your wallet, or your sanity. Blood isn't a blank check. Respect is earned. And sometimes, loving yourself means cutting off the people who taught you not to.